the heart of downtown Cleveland, federal workers are busy today, shredding $19 million. And they're going to do the same thing tomorrow. It's the job of the Federal Reserve not only to distribute new currency to banks, but to carefully examine and destroy currency that is deemed unfit. It's a massive, secure, and secret operation. For the first time in 25 years, a television crew was invited in to see how it all works. Our Colleen Marshall is here now to take us inside the bank for banks. Colleen.
It's impressive. They won't give out the exact value that is stored here. This is the historic lobby. On any given day, they won't tell you how much or how much is passed through each day. But the Regional Federal Reserve Bank in Cleveland supplies nearly 1,000 financial branches in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and West Virginia. It's an overwhelming operation, and the numbers are staggering. They destroy $4 billion a year. They just shred it. And photographer Steve Wainfor and I got to see your money on the move.
So just reviewing this video here and also educating myself. This is a Federal Reserve in Cleveland, and they're in charge with getting rid of old money and distributing new money. So they're showing the process here of how they destroy money, and as they were saying, they destroy billions of dollars every year. That's just wild to think about. So that just lets you know that there's a lot of money that's out here floating around, and I mean, this is America. This is a place where you can become anything you want to become. And of course, they're not going to release a lot of details because they don't want people just coming out there thinking that they could rob the place or do any type of malicious stuff. But very, very interesting. I mean, I knew this type of thing existed. I just had never seen like the process, and so let's go through it.
Currency in, currency processed, currency sent out. And every single dollar must be accounted for from the minute it arrives by armored truck.
If it says we're expecting 10 bags of 20s, the teller's going to count 10 bags of 20s. It's going to give the thumbs up to the carrier. Into
processing, and then these three workers are locked in a room where each bill is run through sensors.
They're going to look for rips, tears, graffiti, anything that the machine would deem, oh, we don't want to send this back out to the public.
They started at 5 a.m. looking at $20 bills. By the time we got there at 1 in the afternoon,
we've run around 833,000 pieces through. So if you multiply that by 20, that's your value.
And in this one room,
we've had 831 notes rejected, and we've shredded 22,910.
22,000 $20 bills sent to the shredder. The 831 suspected counterfeit bills are sent to the Secret Service after each is examined by hand.
And that is still the very best way to find counterfeits.
Is a person.
Yes, ma'am. It's still the best way. The folks that run these RSs and are in this, they have to be certified every 180 days.
And each day, counterfeits show up.
It upticks around Christmas time. There's a little uptick during festival time during the summer.
The heavy work is done by these robots, tirelessly and constantly moving from processing to storage inside a massive vault where the bins of money are stacked several stories high, ones, tens, fives, 50s, 100s. Just one container of $20 bills holds $8 million.
So, it's a lot of money out here. Again, it's never going to be a shortage of that paper. And as they were saying, they had the robots to move it, because just imagine a person on a forklift or some type of lifting, machinery that's moving all that money, man. So they got robots that's going to do it. That's going to save them some money for sure. But also just make sure that the process is effective and the robots aren't going to be, trying to steal that money or anything. And the people who are, having to actually count the money or, see if it's counterfeit, they're locked in a room, and, they have to be certified every 180 days in order to do this type of job. So, they make some great money.
are more than 1,300 containers here. They keep on hand enough money to supply the 1,000 banks in their region for 45 days. Sometimes there is a run on the supply.
Individuals really wanted to hold physical paper during the pandemic because they weren't sure how things are going to evolve.
But not a single person here missed a day of work.
Within that first 2 weeks of the pandemic, we paid as much currency as we had expected to pay for about 8 months.
What's your biggest challenge here?
I think it's just the constant repetition of it. Our teams do an incredible job, but it's a lot of stamina to continue operating in this very frequent operation. We're constantly looking to modernize, and we're constantly looking at ways that we can innovate.
At the end of every shift, every piece of currency that is stored, shredded, or shipped back out must be accounted for. 8 million individual bills a day that might find their way to your ATM.
We spend a lot of time to make sure that the American banking system is safe and sound, and we're very proud that it remains that way, and will continue to remain that way.
Yeah, so very, very interesting stuff here. It just puts in perspective of, how money circulates, throughout the system. And, of course, they're going to have Federal Reserves in a lot of different regions because this just handles, a certain region of the United States. And, I couldn't see one facility just doing all that with the millions of bills that they go through every day, and just how meticulous you have to, be with this type of thing, and how on point you have to be. Really, not really too much room for errors at all when it comes to this type of thing. If they're expecting a certain amount of bills to come out, then that exact amount has to come out. Or if they're expecting a certain amount in, that exact amount has to be, inputted. And if they're expected to shred a certain amount, then, that amount has to also be shredded. So very, very important position. And just wanted to spotlight this in case anyone else didn't know this, or if anyone was interested in going into working for the Federal Reserve. This is really what you can expect. And as they were saying, even through the pandemic, they was continuing operations. And of course, they're going to look to modernize it because, as they were saying, it's strenuous work. It's of course going to be stressful, and of course, there's a lot of counting and accountability. So very, very interesting stuff, in my opinion. Definitely want to know how your money is, flowing and cycling out here, and just how money works, and how money ends up at these financial institutions and into your ATMs and stuff like that. You definitely want to have a knowledge of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up here. If you have, if you have any comments about this, or if you've ever had experience working in this capacity, I would love to see your comments. And, if you like my content, just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.